Hey, Prince Magnum, you got someone special you want to talk about this Mother's Day? You bet I do. Stick around. Hello again, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to a special episode of Surviving Romance. Here on Surviving Romance, it is no mystery that this entire series is dedicated to my loving wife, Princess Faye. It's safe to say that not too many women out there get that kind of devotion from a husband, but hey, my wife is well worth it. So that's no mystery. It's also no mystery that here on Surviving Romance that we give special shout outs. Shoot, it's no mystery that on occasion we give special shout outs to a lot of people who help inspire certain videos, and that's across the board, no question about it. Okay, all of the series will have special shout outs. But this particular episode of Surviving Romance, we are going to kind of deviate from what you all are used to, and we're going to talk about someone. Actually, this video is not dedicated to my wife in any way, shape, or form. It's dedicated to my mother-in-law. Now, I know some of you are asking, Prince Magnum, why not your mom? Well, my mom will get a very special video about her in an up-and-coming episode of In Your Face. See where this is going in a hurry. So, in keeping with the task at hand, let's talk about my loving and my mother-in-law, who is so wonderful. Let's start off with the fact that my mother-in-law is actually a veteran of the U.S. Air Force. So is my father-in-law, and that will actually be mentioned in an up-and-coming episode of A Look Into Our Past. Both of them are both of them served in the U.S. Air Force. But that's another episode for another time. No, let's talk about some of my most fond memories about my mother-in-law, some that are very worthy of mentioning right here on the Prince Magnum channel. So let's start off with the first story. Way back when Princess Faye and I were just a new couple, we weren't married yet or anything like that. Both Princess Faye and I played a lot of World of Warcraft. That was actually how we met. If you've not seen the video, take a look at how I met my wife, which is actually on the Surviving Romance playlist. You're welcome to take a look at that. Shoot, you're welcome to stop this video right now and go take a look at that. And we'll wait. Oh, you're back. Okay, let's move on. Back during those early days, I ran my own guild known as Team Magnum right on the Feather Moon server. That being said, at that time, my guild, we wanted to do a lot of raiding, and this is during the time when Cataclysm was fairly new. Well, we decided to start running some of the old Lich King raids, kind of warm up to, getting us working as a cohesive unit. In those early raids, my mother-in-law would go a lot of times, mostly for the achievement, and we were always glad that she was there. She was oftentimes just a lot, my mother-in-law is just an amazing woman all around, great sense of humor, which we're going to talk about in this story. At one point, I thought it would be funny to basically, in the middle of the raid chat, to say something flirtatious to my mother-in-law. She then in turn said something back, very flirtatious. And it just kind of went back and forth, us playing like this. And of course, Princess Faye did not like this at all. She got very uncomfortable, and it turned into where she would look at me and she'd say, "You need to knock it off right now." And so it turned into, "Honey, Mama, honey, Mama." And she got really upset. And then before you knew it, the rest of the males in the raid group started playing along. Of course, my father-in-law thought it was hilarious, and he just had a big laugh himself. But you had to be there. But that was back during the days when we still played World of Warcraft. And Mom, I hadn't forgotten that. Let's move on to another favorite story of mine. During the time I was celebrating 7 years of continuous sobriety, and it wasn't too terribly long after the birth of Princess Angel Moon, my fourth child, Princess Faye's first, and it was our first one together. Um, my mother-in-law hopped a plane and came to visit, and she stayed with us right here in. Well, she stayed with us while we still lived in Washington, Missouri, for an entire week, and had a great time with her being there. Um, this is one of the two stories I will be telling today in this very special episode. Um, During that time, like I said, I was celebrating 7 years of continuous sobriety, and at one particular point, we went to an open AA meeting where basically I got asked to be a speaker, because that's a pretty commonplace thing in Washington, Missouri, where you'll get asked to be a speaker at an AA meeting when you're celebrating a sobriety birthday. I was no exception to that rule. Basically, my mother-in-law was there as I told my story. Now, there's a couple of particular spots in my AA sobriety story that are very emotional for me. The one where I came home and found that Lady Silver Mist had packed up our two daughters and had left. That's very emotional for me. I still shed a few tears when I tell that story. My mother-in-law shed a few tears with me that day. And then, of course, the story about Tanya and her passing. She cried with me. She cried very heavily with me during that part of my story. So for the first time ever, my mother-in-law, hearing my story, she shared emotions with me right there with my future, who ended up becoming my wife. Shared them right there with me, and I'm very grateful for that story. And I would say after all of this time, after almost 11 and a half years of continuous sobriety, I would have to say that definitely ranks in my top 5 favorite moments in sobriety. If you even twisted my arm now, I would say it definitely ranks in my top 3 favorite moments in sobriety. Because it was such an important story. We'll have to talk more about that later on as time moves on, however, but for right now, let's move on to another favorite story. Um, it is it's no mystery that I love to cook. We do it all the time on Surviving Romance. I love to cook. It's a lot of fun. And basically, I showcase a lot of recipes that Princess Faye absolutely loves. Well, during the week that my mother-in-law was visiting, she said that she loves steak fajitas. Well, for those who do not know, I have a very popular, a very famous steak fajita recipe, and it's of my own design. However, none of you will ever get to see that steak fajita recipe because Princess Faye has forbidden me to make a video about it. Sorry. The only way you all might persuade her is if you start leaving comments in the box below begging her to let me do it. But for the meantime, I'm afraid that that video will not come to pass. However, during this time, long before there was a Prince Magnum channel, I got to cook steak fajitas for my mother-in-law. As a matter of fact, side note for all of you, the cast iron skillet that a lot of recipes are made, that are made here on the Prince Magnum channel, the cast iron, not the flat one, but the one that's got the sides coming up, like such. The big, the 10-inch model that I have. My mother-in-law bought that for me, and the first time I used it was making steak fajitas for her and Princess Faye, and of course myself. She absolutely loved them, and to be able to cook for my mother-in-law, because I love my mother-in-law very much, and her opinion matters very much to me. So when she said that it ranks better than anything she's ever had in a restaurant, that meant the world to me. And hopefully one day I get to make them again for her. But that was very very important to me. Let's move on to a really awesome story. It is no stranger that every once in a while here on the Prince Magnum channel, Princess Faye and I, sometimes we need help to not only in day-to-day living, but occasionally for keeping the Prince Magnum channel going. Back when Project Spirits 3 on the Tree broke, her manual shifter on the column, we weren't sure what to do, and at one point we thought we were going to have to sell Project Spirit, and I really did not want to do that, and I love Project Spirit. I kind of did my homework to figure out what it would take to move the shifter to the floor. My mother-in-law paid to have Project Spirit get the floor. She paid for the floor shifter, which was $250 for a Hearst Indy shifter. As a matter of fact, when basically she sent the money to us, I contacted Jegs and put the part on order. A few days later, it was here. We had to do a rush order, which costed a couple dollars extra, obviously. When I was placing the order, the people at Jegs were kind enough to tell me that that Hearst no longer makes the Indy shifter, and I was really kind of surprised. And I said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, we don't get much call for floor shifters, floor conversions for the 3-speed manual very often anymore. Most people don't do that. Most of the people go to the 5 and 6 speeds. So the fact that you're getting one of these is just kind of odd. It's really cool that you're getting one." And they said that Hearst had discontinued him. And I asked the question, I said, "How many of these are left on the shelf?" I said, "You're getting one of the last 3. So my mother-in-law not only bought Project Spirit's 3-speed manual floor shifter, she bought one that is really about to fade into history, because believe it or not, they don't make them anymore, and there's only a couple of them left. I'm sure that by now Hearst may be toying with the idea of maybe bringing them back briefly, but I highly doubt it. The 3-speed manual shifters are pretty much a thing of the past, and I'm about the only one who still rocks them. There's a few people out there that still do, but my mother-in-law actually bought Project Spirit's floor shifter, and of course my old high school friend T-Bone actually helped me put it in there. All right. Wow. A lot of awesome stories about my mother-in-law. I'm going to leave you all with some kind of interesting thoughts. For those husbands out there, for a lot of you husbands out there that do not have in-laws like mine, I really do feel sorry for you. I have amazing in-laws. My sister-in-law is a wonderful woman. My father-in-law, amazing gentleman. I value his opinion very much. My mother-in-law, since this is really about her, I will say that I wouldn't replace any of my in-laws, and I know it's often said you can pick your spouse, but you can't pick your in-laws. Um, I'll tell you all up front, I would not change any of my in-laws. I'll just say that, you know, I would never replace any of my in-laws, and that's a big definite. I would never change out my mother-in-law. She's a wonderful, amazing woman. I love her very much. Again, I value her opinion very much. I seek her approval more than my own mother. Um, I love her very much. And you know, for you husbands that do not have a mother-in-law like that, I feel very sorry for you. I wish all of you had a mother-in-law as wonderful as mine. You know, so Mom, happy Mother's Day. Love you very much. Um, you know, this video really doesn't do enough justice on how wonderful she really is, but you know. I can only hope this makes a dent in how amazing she really is. That brings us to the end of this video. As usual, you know, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you are not subscribed to the Prince Magnum channel, you might want to do so. I believe there's a little something on the Prince Magnum channel for everybody out there. So hit that subscribe button. There's a little bell icon that if you hit that, you are notified as soon as I upload a new video. So you'll be one of the first ones to see it before everybody else. If you want to leave a comment, please do so. Don't be afraid to leave something in the box below. Honestly and truthfully, though, if you're going to leave any hate, just expect one of two things. Either A, I'm going to delete it, or B, I'm going to make fun of you. Okay, depending on my mood that day, depends. You know, just ask the one guy that I won't even mention his name because he's that low to me. And as usual, get out there and work on a project. A creative mind and idle hands do not make great bedfellows. So just do something with yourself. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet. Do something special for them, especially if they've given you beautiful children. Okay? Husbands, take heed on this. And as always, especially to all the mothers out there, if nobody has told any of you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.
Do you want to go to war, Malaki?
No.
Because we could go to war.
No.
I'm for real. I'm for real.